dive on him.
This is twice now the Celtics have been first to the floor. They try to
Save with Horford. Unbelievable.
Boston first to the floor. So good.
Brown fakes, fires up the three. Bang! Tatum dives on the floor. Everybody dives. Jaylen Brown with the flush. Blocked by Porzingis. He's doing it all. Tatum spinning, driving, layup. Got it. Washington drives. Blocked by White. Oh, what a block from Derek White.
Welcome in first on the floor, Ben Vallis and Jake Eisenberg. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Tonight, the pathway to the NBA Cup. Things have fallen the way of the Celtics. We're going to talk about what needs to happen for the Celtics to continue progressing through to NBA Cup supremacy, plus some stuff out of the Wizards game, the Jays bump in free throw rate this year. Lots of stuff. So settle in, folks. Jake, how are you, man? The Celtics are 13-3. How's it going?
Doing great, man. It's great to see you in the 2D in the podcast flesh.
This is in person as it gets.
This is yeah. Considering we live in different states, but no, man, it's good. It's good to be having this conversation with you amidst the basketball game. Is technically what it was today.
Technically, yes.
And thankfully, it was a basketball game that the Celtics won. So at least they didn't play a basketball game that they lost. They played a basketball game that they won, which made the experience so much better. To have a game like that end in a win is just shockingly so much better when it ends in a win than to have to go through that losing experience. Like to the Wizards would have been pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, the most painful double-digit victory of all time, perhaps. You called it just about seeing each other as well there, Jake. I've not been around or on the pod lately. Some people have reached out asking where I've been at. I'll give a life update later in the show. I want to get to this Wizards game first, but if you care about where I've been or what's going on there, stick around. I'll give you guys an update in a sec. But this game, Celtics win, double digits, like we said, 108-96. They shot 23% from three, 11 of 46. Jayson Tatum, 0 of 10 from 3, maybe his worst game of the season, maybe like a top 10
easily
or bottom 10 worst game of all time for him. Yet, superstar almost had a triple-double despite all of that. Derek, Jaylen, and JT all switched on in the fourth quarter, thankfully. Collectively 9 of 14 from the floor in the fourth quarter. They basically fucked around and the Wizards found out. We played no defense for most of the first half. Shot horrendously bad all game and still won by 12. I think this is something that was sort of unofficially tracked throughout this podcast's existence. This might be a top 3. They were definitely hungover. Shit went down last night after the White House. I don't know what fancy alcohol they were filling their drinks with at the White House, but something happened. Al Horford, the only old guy, the only person to be I'm so old that a hangover, I actually can't go to work the next day. Something's going on there, Jake.
Has to be. I was like, is the White House a thing? I guess
Top shelf
so.
liquor.
I guess so. You go to the White House, everyone's wearing fancy clothes. It is pretty cool. I didn't really think about it because I guess 51. I call it 51% Australian, 49% American. The idea of them all going to the White House was just kind of whatever. But I do get, you get all dressed up. You're in Washington, D.C. It probably would have been pretty cool. The Joe Biden part of it was quite hilarious. He had to double check. He was actually talking about the Boston Celtics at one point, which I found quite entertaining. But yeah, maybe that's what happened because Jayson Tatum and T-Mac in the playback was maybe he... Tatum was because they hang out a lot. Did he catch whatever Al Horford got? Was it an illness? Hungoverness does make sense. It definitely looked like what Jayson Tatum was today. And I didn't think that players do this, but I watched a clip that Lou Williams put out the other day, and he was talking about how he just accidentally got too drunk the night before and was just really drunk during a basketball game, and he went over to Doc Rivers when he was at the Clippers and was
We've all done it.
Hey, it doesn't help, that's for sure.
No.
And Lou Williams went over to Doc Rivers and was like, bro, like I had 3 turnovers in the first quarter. He's like, I'm drunk. You need to get me out of this game. And Doc was like, I need you to play, sweat it out. I'm going to need you for the fourth quarter. And then Lou Williams went nuts in the fourth and they won the game.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
Is that not dissimilar to what happened today? They looked kind of like shit. And in the fourth quarter, they shot 52% from the field, got to the line 10 times. I mean, a lot of those were like weird point differential free throws. But, Jayson Tatum, 8 points in the fourth, 3 for 6 from the field, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and a turnover. That's a pretty good fourth quarter. And that would be the only quarter that he played well in.
Yeah, Jaylen as well, obviously shot poorly from everywhere, but that, a post-up, fadeaway, rainbow shot to, ice the game was sexy as hell, and maybe the moment where he, crossed back into, the legal blood alcohol, threshold for driving, and actually... Have you played basketball drunk before? I'm thinking about, I went to, work drinks and then went to a rec league
Yes.
game afterwards. Way too drunk to be anywhere, let alone at a basketball game where coordination is required. And the thing I remember is bouncing the ball, and you don't have to look if you know what you're doing. Bouncing the ball,
Okay,
just
Ben's got handles. All right.
Well, I mean, basic handles where I can dribble while looking up at the player around me. And you expect the ball to come up and gather in your hand, and when you're drunk, it just doesn't. It feels like you're dribbling on pebbles or something. I don't know. I think the guys were dribbling on pebbles today, is what I'm saying.
A lot of pebble dribbling. Look, Jaylen Brown, I thought, yes, in the fourth, he played well in the fourth quarter. He did have 31, 11, and 5 with 3 turnovers, and the 3-point shot was the part that really let him down. So 11 minus 3 is 8, and then 27 minus 13 is 14. So 8 for 14 range. Is that right? Am I doing that right?
I think so.
From 2-point range, he was pretty good. The 3-point shot for Jaylen has just not been there at all this year. He made 2 in a row early, and we're like, ooh, is it back? Is a 3-point shot back? Was playing that game all year long with both of our stars' shots, really. Tatum up until today had kind of shaken the jump shot is broken. I'd never seen more air balls in my life than today. Both sides, both teams.
So bad.
Tatum airballed a wide open catch and shoot 3, which he's been elite at all season long and for his entire career. But Jaylen, I thought played pretty well. It was just a 3-point shot was just not there for him. He even admitted in the post game that he settled a little bit too much. He came back in at one point it was the last time he came back in, and he just pulled up from 29 feet and just completely. I'm not sure if that one was an air ball. It may have been an air ball. And I think after that, he started to be a little more judicious with his shot profile. I think if I had to give who played the best today, it's probably Jaylen, just because we needed all of the contributions. It's either him or Cornette, but at least in the fourth quarter, they all kind of got their shit together.
I think Drew was really solid as well,
Yes.
by way of not being terrible. It's there's almost nothing
was
you can
good.
take away from this game in that, the fact that you can play this badly and still win by 12 points is also why they played so badly. Knowing that they could do that and still win, and unfortunately, they won't learn anything because that's exactly what happened. Maybe one of the major takeaways is the big man rotation was kind of reinvigorated a little bit with Al Horford out. And, Keta has been the guy that's sort of in favor with the coaching staff as of the last couple of weeks, really. But we saw a healthy dose of Tillman and Cornette in this one. So
Victory.
Who do you think now holds the number 1 ranking in the minimum contract backup big rankings?
Ooh. Firstly, shout out the chat. We got
Hell
Duck,
yeah.
4 a.m. podcast. We got
Welcome,
Athens from Greece. What up? And Muzz, shout out you as well, but I know you're in Australia, so I can't give you full
Prime
marks.
time. That's right.
This is when everybody else gets to, and Ozra in the chat as well. I know you're in Australia also, so of course we appreciate listening.
Hit the like button.
Hit the like button, obviously. Who's here? But yeah, shout out you guys for listening, especially in the various time zones. Tillman is back. Goodness gracious, he is alive, dude. He is alive because. I had the tinfoil hat on. I was like, Tillman has gone back to Maine with Kristaps Porzingis for this scrimmage to help Kristaps have more competition. I was like Oh, I don't know, man. Does Tillman really need to go back for that, for him to like have a scrimmage? I thought it was kind of a stretch. So I was wondering if he was managing his own injury, which may technically still be possible. But finally, so the last time he played real minutes was the first Atlanta Hawks game he played in the first half. That was on November 4th. That's like 20 days ago almost 3-4 weeks ago, like 8 games, 3-4 DNPs, and then only garbage time in 3 other games. Like, he just has been completely stapled to the bench for reasons that are unbeknownst to us. Besides that, it's very clear they're trying to develop Neemias Keta. But Tillman, we finally saw him. He had his best game of the season, probably, I'd say, tonight. Because he was not good in the minutes prior to this. I did not think that was enough reason to completely cut him from the rotation when Keta has really struggled as of late. Well, so I can start there, but Cornet, I mean, we'll get to him too, because he's probably at the top of the list.
Sure. Yeah, the developing Keta thing in contrasted with Tillman is like weird because they're basically the same age. But on Tillman, I agree this is probably his best performance, and that does not show up in the box score at all. But Joe was searching for energy injections in this one, and Joe injected some energy himself with like getting crazy angry and getting teched up. And he said after the game, like, I don't have the exact quote, but he was like, I wanted to shift like the vibe in the arena. And like, did you feel the vibe shift? Like, putting the question back on the media, which is just like fucking classic Joe. I love that shit.
Yeah, he was like, I tried to manipulate the environment, and
that's right.
It changed. Did you feel it? And I guess Bobby was like, it kind of, dude, he looks so psychotic. I guess I have to believe him that he was doing it on purpose, but in the moment, he does not look like he's just doing it to manipulate the environment. It looks like he's about to fight the referee.
Yeah. Like, he just is like gunning for that championship again this year, right? He'll do fucking anything. He'll kill people, line people in chalk to get there. I love to see it. I went to the zoo today. I took my daughter, and there were some meerkats there, by the way. And I was like, that's fucking Joe Mazzulla standing to attention. But yeah, Tillman, like, it was the energy injection from Tillman that unfortunately doesn't show up on the box score. That really is why we're tipping the cap to Tillman in this one, because we were just desperate for it in this game, and he came in and was like hustling, like just basic fundamental things like boxing out and like closing out and just defending with like a professional level of tenacity, things like that we just needed people to do in this game, and no one seemed to be willing to do. Like we said, most likely because they were all hungover. Maybe Drew Holiday and Xavier Tillman just like, don't drink. Like, maybe that's the major takeaway from this one. But Tillman was awesome in this one, and Cornet as well. I'm so happy for Cornet because like we love the vibes, we love the lemon squares in the locker room, all that shit. But he hasn't been bringing it between the lines this season. And for him to come out, I feel like the Keta spot, whatever you want to call that, is like totally back up for grabs. And like Keta with his drop off and plays is basically begging for either Tillman or Luke to like re-grab that spot from him. And this was massive for Cornet in his like retaking of that third big role, I suppose.
I don't know if Cornet lost it because of play, or are they just straight up decided that we're going to try and figure out if Keta can play. We're trying to keep one eye to the future. Can we develop Keta into someone that's as good as Luke Cornet? That's what it's felt like, because it has just made no sense for him to ride, or for Mazzulla to ride out Keta in that Cavs game. He started Keta today. It's just like he's getting every opportunity ahead of, and typically Mazzulla's been like pretty loyal and pretty much like, you've been here for longer, you've earned your spot, you've been solid for so long. Like, this other person really has to come and take it. And they've really just kind of handed it to Keta. I've been someone who has obviously flip-flopped a lot on Keta. I was anti-Keta, and after the Warriors game, I'm back in on Keta, and now I'm back out on Keta. Like, I'm nothing if not consistent with letting my emotions dictate how I make decisions, and I've had enough for now. Like, it's just too many minutes. It's too many minutes. It's not working. He's not playing well. I'm not sure if it's a film thing where teams have like now seen him play a lot, and it's like he has no idea what he's doing. He has no idea how to read a drop coverage, and he's over helping. Like, I just like having Tillman come in and just be solid. So I've got this clip here, Ben. It's one clip of good and one clip of bad. So Keta's defending Kuzma here on the perimeter. He kind of contains the drive. Tillman like flashes into the paint here, which kind of forces Kuzma to pick up his dribble and then go back and take a contested floater. But Tillman stays in box out position, gets the rebound. Next possession, Tillman on the switch. Tillman covering Carrington. He forces what's going to be a tough layup. And Keta just comes right over the top, completely doesn't get the block, and JV comes in for the offensive rebound. And that is happening over and over and over again in whatever different context that you want to talk about. It's just like very like veteran, making the right decision, experience, whatever you want to call it, IQ. Keta is just not executing it consistently, very inconsistently. And Tillman came in and was just like very simply in the right spots, did all the right things. And like he didn't have a crazy game by any means, but it was like very jarring to me. And I was like, dude, this is we got to at least redistribute the minutes. Like even tonight, Keta played 18 and Tillman played 8. This I am hoping is the beginning of a reshuffling. It might not matter because KP might be back soon anyway. Horford was out tonight, and that's obviously part of it. But like, can we just like just simmer down with the Keta? A little too much.
Yeah, it's a physical tools versus mental tools kind of battle, and you just saw it with that those clips that you demonstrated there. Like, despite his lack of like athleticism and height, I guess in Tillman's case, like he kind of knows where to be all the time. You could say the same for Luke as well, and maybe like this Keta amazing explosiveness, like Rob Light kind of thing has run its course a little bit, and we need to get back to just like who knows ball a little bit. And it's interesting. Yeah, KP will come back. I imagine we'll start right away. Al will go back into the backup big role. And then we're really just privileged because we've had this like stretch to sort of demo who would be the ideal third big who might get like, I don't know, 8 to 10 minutes per game and then be the primary backup big, on the second night of a back-to-back or whatever, where I assume they'll sort of shuffle KP and Al on those nights. So like one of them will start, the other one will take the game off. But I guess we'll find out soon. But yeah, it's a real privilege to be like, this is the thing we're worried about, like our deep big man rotation. But like we saw it last year, like at some point, one of those guys is going to have an impact in a deep playoff run or in the finals, as was the case in Game 3 with Tillman. So like it is kind of important. So I don't want to negate that a little bit. I want to get to like the NBA Cup side of things because I think there's some confusion and maybe unawareness of like where we stand now and if we still have a chance having dropped that first game to the Hawks. Is there anything else on the game itself you want to get to? I kind of want to like never think about it again, but is there anything else you want to say on the game?
This was a bench game. Like Cornette was awesome. Great to see him play well. Hauser 5 for 7, really solid. And Pritchard 3 for 6, 4 assists. Like the Whites played really well tonight. And the energy, like the energy was really important. The exciting whites, the diverse whites, really impressive. We had a 6'1", we had a 7'2", we had one from Virginia. It was beautiful. So they played well, and like Tatum's plus minus was buoyed thanks to those guys, honestly, from like the first half. And so those guys came in and played really well. Hauser seems to be on a minutes restriction, but I have to like look it up quickly, but like that's the first time. When's the last time he was like 3 for 5 from 3?
He was good, yeah.
Yeah, like that's like just to see him knock down a bunch of shots. Was really good. We had a little Samelo moment as well. So I thought he was really solid. Just to shout out those guys too. But yeah, this was disgusting, and I'm really glad that it ended. I mean, the only thing I just would like broadly is like this is a thing now. Like before the Hawks game, I pushed back on some people saying like this is a trap game. Celtics are gonna fucking fuck around, and I was like, no, they didn't do that last year. It's too early to say that. It's very obvious now that that's exactly what's happening because Hawks game, they lost. They came out literally like the next night on a back-to-back and blew out Brooklyn easily. The Cavs game, especially in that first half, I was like, when you see it, going to keep saying it. Same thing exactly applies tonight. You know it when you see it. And you know when they are mailing it the fuck in. And until proven otherwise, that's what they're going to be doing in spots like this, it feels like.
For sure. I look forward to doing our NBA Cup respector rankings once we've got a little bit more sample size, maybe after the group stage, because Jayson Tatum is 15th of 15 in NBA Cup respecting.
Dude.
Does not give a shit. Jaylen Brown bumped up his power ranking, I
Yes.
think, in the fourth quarter tonight. Luke Cornett, obviously,
wonder
huge
he played
respecter
well.
of the mortgage down payment with winning the NBA Cup there. So
Dude.
interesting.
Jayson Tatum, we're not all on Supermaxes here, bro.
I know.
Okay?
Yeah.
These guys
Some
got
of
to
us want to win.
Come on, man. Like what? Pritchard's starting a freaking vlog to try and get some of this YouTube money, and now he's out here trying to get this NBA Emirates Cup cash. Like, can we help a brother out? 0 for 10 from 3. What are we doing, dude?
I know, crazy. So the NBA Cup, as situated for the Celtics, and stop me if I'm wrong. I spent a bit of time on this afternoon, but I could be wrong. It's like somewhat convoluted, but basically the Celtics are now tied first in East Group C with the Hawks, but we're plus 15 on the Hawks in point differential, which is huge. Also, the Hawks' next cup game is against the Cavs, who are currently 1-1. So, assuming the Cavs win, they'd be 2-1, and the Hawks would be 2-2. So, if the Cavs and Celtics both win out, they'd both be 3-1. So, not only do we need to beat the Bulls on Friday night in our last cup game of the group stage, we need to win by a lot to ensure we beat the Cavs in point differential, which is the tiebreaker. And the Cavs are currently +1 on us in point differential at the moment. So we actually kind of want the Hawks to beat the Cavs. No? Because we've already got a huge gap in point differential on the Hawks?
No. It's the first tiebreaker is head-to-head. And that's the thing that's confusing people.
Okay, yes, including me, clearly.
Yes. So this is the thing. We want the Hawks to lose to the Cavs, and so Hawks lose to the Cavs. Celtics beat the Bulls. Cavs and Celtics both 3-1. Celtics go through based on head-to-head.
Okay. So point differential won't matter in that scenario.
Not in that context.
Okay.
Where it was potentially going to be a problem was if the Hawks had beaten the Bulls today, then they had lost and then beaten the Cavs, or something like they end up 3-1 and the Cavs had lost. Then we would not have gone through because the Hawks would be 3-1. We would be 3-1. We would have better point differential, but the Hawks would go through. Then, we wouldn't have the point differential, even if we had the point differential. But tonight was huge. Obviously, we got the point differential. The Bulls really helped us out with smoking the Hawks. Because now all we need to do is beat the Bulls, which not a fucking guarantee because we already lost to the Hawks in the Cup and we almost lost to the Wizards today. And then the Cavs beat the Hawks. And that, statistically, would be very, very likely. And if it ends in a 3-way tie, that's when it would come back to point differential. But I don't think that's possible anymore now that the Hawks are, I guess, 2 more games for the Cavs. If they split, it's very confusing. What's the simplest explanation? Celtics beat Bulls, Cavs beat Hawks, Celtics go through.
Yeah, and that feels very possible. The Bulls have a lot of talent, individual talent on their team, but it's like a bunch of puzzle pieces from different puzzles that don't really fit particularly well together, and a lot of guard talent. Vooch has been kind of awesome.
You got to beat him. That would be the one. That's the thing at the moment. It feels like I wouldn't the Bulls. Obviously, aren't good, but they Levine's been playing great. Josh Giddey might be the worst player in the NBA. That's possible.
But my fantasy team agrees with you.
It's
so
just
bad, dude.
As you see tonight, man, and also you might just miss shots. Obviously the Celtics played bad tonight, but they got a ton of good looks in the first half that just did not go down. And then as Muzz said, anything is possible. So you're gonna have to come in and actually beat the Bulls because I think they will have their own. They probably have their own outside chance of getting in technically because they are 1-1. If they were to beat the Wizards and beat the Celtics by enough, then they end up 3-1. So they will probably be trying really hard too.
This is why I love the NBA Cup, man, because we're spending 10 minutes on a pod being what the fuck's going on? Are we guaranteed? Maybe not. These things have to happen. It's kind of awesome in November to be grasping at what the fuck's going on here? Are we going to make it? But it seems like things will probably, if we just take care of business, will fall into place for the Celtics. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about the increase, the huge bump in both Jay's free throw rate this season. Free throws sound kind of boring, but it's like the process of like how they get to the line we think is kind of interesting. So we're going to touch on that, and then we're going to go around the league and talk about some other aspects, including KP potentially coming back soon, Wick meeting with some oil money overseas for some potential ownership situations. But first, our lovely sponsors, our very generous sponsors, have recently decreed that we have to do all of our ad reads live, starting from tonight. So Jake's going to kick us off with a live read for our friends over at Game Time.
Hell yeah, dude. It's game time. Yeah, everybody knows Drake May season is upon us. Shout out Eli in the Discord. Drake May, propagandists everywhere. But it's time to get in on the ground floor of the Drake May experience. I didn't get to see Brady when he was a pup, but I did get to see Brady throw a game-winning touchdown at Gillette Stadium to Brandon Cooks against the Texans, which was glorious. And you couldn't recreate that memory with Game Time. Game Time has tickets for all events, not just sports. Has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams live way easier. We got our Summer League tickets through Game Time. My dad got his tickets to see the Celtics through Game Time. And like, if the Australians can figure out how to use the app and can afford it, even with the Australian dollar, like, you know that Game Time is the place to be. Look, through Game Time, you can go see the legend Drake May against the Colts for as little as $76. Like, just a no-brainer. Or you can sit in the second row for as little as $170. Wow. You can filter through the cheapest available tickets. You can customize your spot. And you can check through the seat view just to ensure that you have the best possible view for Drake May lasers. It's pretty dope. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
Dude, crushed that and synced perfectly with the silent B reel we had. I have such a basic bitch ad reel read prepared for later, so you just completely put me to shame. Well done. Okay, the Jays free throw
all those
rate.
Years working in ad sales, you know, I gotta do my sponsors proud.
Natural. Actually, before we get to the free throw rate, I will just give this life update very quickly because like there's just no natural way to like insert it into the pod. But I have been notably absent from the show as of late, and a couple of people have reached out being like, "Where are you? Like, are you okay?" That kind of thing. I'm completely fine. I got laid off my job back in July, actually the day before we went to Vegas, and found a new job quite quickly and started it a couple of weeks ago. And since I've started my job, I've gone from like either being completely unemployed, which was the case from July onwards, or pretty cushy work from home situation in my prior role is probably a reason why I ended up being made redundant and laid off from that job, where I was like totally able to watch all the games, podcast during the day, and like manage work through meetings and emails like outside of that. Now I'm working like in the office all the time. Like there's a element of working with an overseas team at night as well, so I'm working like long days where I'm unable to like watch games or like let alone like do like live pods about them. So that's kind of why I've been absent from the show as of late, and as time goes on I think we'll probably just like re-find a rhythm there where I'm able to rejoin the show on a semi-regular basis. Like doing nighttime pods in Australia definitely helps, where like obviously I'm not working now, but I think we found a loophole where I work from home on Fridays. We can do a pod then, but like record it instead of going live. Obviously, if my employer sees me live on the internet when I'm supposed to be working, that's not going to be good, particularly in my probation period. But if we record them during my lunch break or something, that's a way the three of us can be on a pod at like a spoony suitable time, and we'll just upload that instead of live streaming. So hopefully that answers some of your questions. I'll still be around, but kind of a little bit more behind the scenes than usual. So anyway, that's boring. Let's get that out of the way.
Dude, freaking prioritizing your family's well-being over watching Celtics games and live streaming.
It sucks. I miss the pods so much, and like I'm back to like 10 years ago where I'm at work with like an AirPod, just like listening to Grandy being like, yes, Jayson Tatum, like while trying to pretend that I'm working, and it's
Tillman's in.
Yeah, exactly. So it sucks, and But, as Jeff Goldblum once said, life finds a way. So we will find our level at some point.
Yeah.
But that's just the situation currently. And we're dealing with it. And meanwhile, you got Spoonie and Jake, who are absolutely cooking and do an awesome job. So while I'm not around, the show goes on in an awesome fashion with Spoonie and Jake. So the Jays free throw rate, which is much more interesting. Jaylen Brown, per his cleaning the glass, shooting fouled percent, 14.8% this year, which is good for the 91st percentile. Very, very good. Fouled on, I guess, 14.8% of his shooting attempts. Last year, 11.5%. So this year, he's averaging 7.9 free throw attempts. Last year, 4.3. So a huge bump. And Jayson Tatum, this year, averaging 8.5 free throw attempts. Last year, 6.7. So both Jays are growing up. They're maturing. They're obviously playing awesome, particularly Jayson Tatum, who's playing like at a notable MVP level and getting like national attention in the MVP conversation. But Jake, why the bump in free throw rate from your perspective? Like, what are they doing better to be able to elevate that aspect of their game by such a large degree?
Finally getting their damn respected.
Yeah,
Goodness gracious.
Is that it?
I mean, it's not all of it. Tatum in particular, his free throw rate has just kind of been increasing linearly throughout his career. Like, if you were to draw a line, it's pretty much gone up every season. The only season that it took a step back was last year. Like in 2022, 2023, he took 8.4 free throws, and last year he took 6.7. I think that's just because he kind of took a step back, letting, KP and Drew get integrated really from that perspective, and like his overall scoring as well. And this year was just kind of like the continuing of that trajectory. And the added strength, he's playing a lot more off 2 feet this year. So like that's something that I've definitely noticed when watching. He's getting downhill. He's playing through contact. He's never been particularly good at like flopping or foul baiting, but getting to 2 feet just lets him play with a little bit more patience and a little bit more poise. Getting downhill, one, he can like go through contact better as opposed to like letting the contact kind of swallow him up at times. And two, he's done a few like get downhill, pump fake, little Jimmy Butler action, draw a foul that way. And then the other piece of it too, I think, is he's been getting fouled on jump shots a fair bit as well. And I think that's partly because he's been making so many jump shots. So teams don't want to give him that shot. So they get up underneath him. Obviously we have the one that did not get called by Giannis that comes to mind, maybe more than any other one. I wonder if it's going to just come down a little bit. Like I know anecdotally, like there's been some late game stat padding that the Hornets game comes to mind. Today comes to mind. That's just kind of like baked into NBA stuff anyway, though. So partly will continue. But for Tatum, I think it's just part of like the natural progression for him. Like that's just, like he's not driving necessarily more. I think it's just playing like the rest of his game, a little more under control, a little more poise, a little more patience. And that's just allowing him to kind of take the fight to the defenders a lot of the time.
Yeah, we have been, in the last few years, like people, when they're celebrating the achievements of the Jays, they always end it with, and they're only like 23 years old. Imagine what they're going to be like when they're like hitting their prime. Now they're hitting their prime, and like these are the like things, like the trimmings around the edges that start to occur with players who are already very talented and have like, a great scoring punch and are very effective in general. Then they start to add like the pro elements to their game, and you've seen it with like all amazing players across all time, where like they hit their like mental peak in their playing career, and they start to add these extra elements to their game. So like the Jays have been awesome for a long time. Now they're adding these extra trimmings to their game, which is like now we can just like get to the line whenever we want, and we can get ourselves out of sticky situations where we're like stuck in the paint, against the double team, where we can sort of pump fake, draw a foul, get ourselves to the line. So it's just like in some sense, the logical evolution of their game that I think we're starting to see. But it's so notable with Jaylen in particular. And the fact that he's actually like hitting the free throws at a relatively high clip relative to like his prior years where it was like insanely disappointingly bad. For him to get to the line at an increased level and actually knock them down at an increased level as well is just like, it's just some like professional superstar shit, to be honest. And, it's like you're looking for difference makers coming off an amazing championship winning year, and for your best players to be like getting to the line at a really high percentile relative to the rest of the league, like both of them per cleaning the glass. It's just like the kids are growing up, basically.
Yeah, man. It's like and Jaylen, I'm not noticing as much of a difference eye test wise. I think the post ups though for him, he's like at the top of the league of post ups, points per post up in the NBA. He's getting fouled down there a lot as well. Like I know there's some stats in the doc here, but maybe if you did you pull these, or are these spoony stats?
I threw them in there, but you can take the big salad. It's all good as long as the people hear them.
I was saying, as long as everybody knows that these came from Ben, like this is like,
it came from cleaning the glass.
I mean, sure, but still, but you did the work,
Did the copying and pasting, yes.
Yeah, like 91st percentile on his shooting fouled percent, and which is 14.8% this year versus 11.5% this year. Like Jaylen's always played in a way that I'm like, why? Like, he should just get more free throws. Like he goes so hard to the rim. He's so much stronger than guys like. He's not Giannis, obviously. He's not LeBron, obviously. But the way that he plays, the way that he gets downhill, like with force and physicality, you would just think that he would get a lot more free throws. Like I talked about Tatum's trajectory of free throws, like kind of increasing over his career naturally. Jaylen's has been flat for like his whole, like for the last half decade. In the 1920 season, he was taking 4.3. 4.3 the year after that. 4.8, 5.1, 4.3 last year. And now he's jumped all the way to 7.6 free throws per game coming into tonight. And he took 8 tonight. So like that's going to tick up like ever so slightly. So that is like an outlier jump. And why it's kind of a big deal is like last year the Celtics were like very close to the bottom of getting to the free throw line. Like KP was really the only one that had a elite free throw rate. And if this is like one of the best offenses in league history last year, they haven't even really been shooting particularly well this year. Like I think they were 10th in 3-point percentage when I checked today, and they were like right at the top of the league last year. Obviously, they've got a ton of shooting talent on this team. Part of that is Jaylen's 3-point percentage has been down. House's 3-point percentage has been down. But let's imagine that kind of comes up somewhere between where it is and where it was last year. So you're going to get a boost there. And if this stays where it is, and then you add back Kristaps Porzingis' free throw rate, you're going to be much closer to the top of the league in free throw rate. And if you're adding another margin where these guys are already typically in games that matter, I'm not against the Wizards apparently, they're dominating you in the margins, whether it's the turnovers and stuff like that. If they're adding free throw rate to one of the margins that they're killing teams in, that's just like kind of unfair.
It's completely unfair. Like KP coming back, like it's already kind of an unfair team because I think at this point, kind of easily have the two most talented and like physically dominant wing players like active in the league today. Like a few years ago, maybe you could say like LeBron, Kawhi, but LeBron is like 40, still awesome. Had like a sweet facial dunk the other day, but Kawhi is like not playing. Like it's kind of unfair to have the two most physically dominant and two most talented wing players on the same team at once, along with Al Horford, who is still like balling out, and Drew Holiday and Derek White. Like it's crazy unfair, but the increase in free throw rate and efficiency across the board there is ridiculous. And you're right, like the 3-point situation will absolutely improve, I think, just naturally. But then like KP is a fucking sniper from beyond the arc and gets to the line, like gets that switch, posts up the guard. If he's not just drilling it over their head, he's like swiping his hands up and like drawing a foul and getting to the line as well, which is, I just cannot wait for him to come back. We're going to come back in a second and talk about KP. We probably need to get to this other ad read very quickly for our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks, as I cue up some music here for myself, Prize Picks is the best place to get. There's the volume switch. There we go. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over. This is why we do live reads, folks. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long with Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money, as I just said, on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. And Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quickly as 15 minutes. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this basketball season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Tonight, I'm taking Jaylen Brunson more on 27.5 points. That feels like a lock to me. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use that code again, CLNS, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Jake, what else you got for us tonight?
Hey, man. Well, so the Kristaps Porzingis thing, like, when is this guy coming back? Like, if he played in this scrimmage a couple days ago, and we got Tillman telling us he looks really good. We got apparently Tatum and some of the guys got to watch the scrimmage, and Tatum was like, "Yeah, man, he looked freaking good," and we're excited to get the cheat code back. It's like this feels like so far ahead of schedule. Like, we were hoping. I was predicting like Christmas present, like he might come back like 2 games before Christmas and like ramp up, and then like he'd be a full go for the Christmas Day game, and it would be like Merry Christmas as Celtics fans. Here's Latvian Moses back to dominate NBA teams and Joel Embiid. It would be awesome, but like if he played, here he is, the Bear Slayer. Oh my God, dude. Dude, we had the best fucking time last year with this dude.
I know.
Like, he was so unbelievable. Like, I forget myself, like, because we just haven't seen him for a long time. We've played, we're 13-3 now. We've played 16 games without him. We're into the season, and it's like, this dude should have made the All-Star game last year. This dude is like a walking 20-point on like hyper efficiency, like 3-level scoring at the 5 position, while offering elite rim protection. Like, it's just, as Tatum said, like a cheat code. And I'm like salivating at the idea of this guy coming back even earlier than we anticipated. Like, I want a real fucking update, because like, he sounds close. I was hoping like we play Cleveland and Miami like on a back-to-back. Can we get him back for that? Like, we split him and Al to try and win both of those. But like, is he gonna pop up as like questionable tomorrow or something like that before the Wolves game on Monday? Like, it feels like it's gonna happen like sometime soon.
It will usher in the anxiety portion of the season, the anxiety watching portion, where, I don't know about you, Jake, but last year, any touch, any like time his feet left the ground, anytime he was hassled inappropriately, like think like Heat games, for example. I think he got injured during a Heat game in the regular season, and then again, obviously in the playoffs as well, where they're like really physical with him. It does usher in that portion of the season where you're like, fuck, I hope he stays healthy. And like, every time he touches the ball, it's like, this is amazing. It's exhilarating. I can't believe he's that good at that height. Like, what a fucking unicorn. Also, like, please God, stay healthy as well. But also, the Celtics have been playing some really lazy defense this year, I think, that we can agree on. And KP definitely helps us be better defending lazily. I was talking about this on the Celtics Lab podcast earlier today, where like, he can play and drop. We can switch 1 through 4, and KP is so long and Latvian and lanky that he doesn't have to come up to the level of the screen to offer like a legitimate contest on the shot, and that affords him a bit of room if he does need to backpedal on the drive. If the ball handler does drive, he can sort of get back and contest at the rim as well, and that's not like a high energy level of defense, and it's not something we can do with Al. It's not something we can do with really anyone. It's actually something we used to do with Time Lord a little bit, where we could play and drop, and he could be like so far back from the level but still offer a legit contest because of his wingspan. KP can do the same thing, but also shoot like fucking 50% from 3 on the other end as well. So I cannot wait for him to be back. We can continue to be lazy, and it'll just be made easier really for all of us. We'll probably win more games while being allowed to be even lazier defensively.
Yeah. It is hard to win more games than we're currently winning, but I do think
That's true.
yeah,
That's a good point.
I think 13-3 is probably like some 66 win pace or something like that. Granted, the schedule hasn't been that hard, but yeah, and he's like going back to what we were talking about with Tillman and Keta in the clips that we ran earlier. In that Tillman knows how to play the game, and KP has a high IQ on both ends, but we're talking defensively, like in the drop, he knows when to like come up and come back. He knows how to like bait the ball handler into throwing a lob or a floater and getting to a block. Like he really knows his positioning and spatial awareness, and like he's a freak in a variety of ways, but his IQ as a defender is really impressive, and that's what makes him special as well. Because like tools wise, Keta has a similar, tools. His similar toolkit, I guess, similar utility belt that Kristaps has, but Kristaps is just so much further along mentally. And like, I'm not trying to like shit on Keta in that way, but like as far as helping the defense, just by like knowing where to be all the time, while also having, I think he's even taller and longer than Keta. Like it's just, and I do think he's going to give the team an energy jolt too.
Yeah.
Like I do think like this
the crowd
thing,
too.
The crowd, everybody loves him, and he loves everybody. He's gonna be winking at people. It's gonna be so great, dude. And I think that's gonna be just filtering all the way through, cascading down vibes through the souls of each Boston Celtic, and they're gonna be playing great defense, and they're gonna go on a crazy run, and it's gonna be great. I do want to ask you this question though. Unless you have anything to respond to, like this comment from Isaiah here, but if please respond to my gushing of the Latvian king himself.
Yeah. So the question being, he better sit his ass down until Christmas. I don't need any early comebacks from KP. Isaiah in the chat. Yeah,
that speaks to your to you a little bit.
I always err on the conservative side of like he may be ready. And like Chris Middleton is doing some version of this right, where he's like, I'm physically ready, but my mind ain't right yet. And I'm not saying that like Kristaps Porzingis suffers from that at all. Like I think he's well and truly ready to get going. Probably his mind is ahead of his body in terms of like readiness to get back on the court. But normally I err on the conservative side because ultimately the goal is to be healthy for the playoffs and to remain healthy throughout the playoffs. But what we've got is this 38-year-old timeless, ageless wonder Al Horford kind of shouldering a lot of the minutes load. I think he's averaging 23 and a half minutes per game, which is crazy considering we're missing our starting center. And he's like our sort of one really talented remaining big. The fact that we've kept him under 25 minutes per game is like fucking crazy. Maybe I'm wrong there. You might have to check me there, but I think it's quite low. It might be around 27. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's a little high for me.
That's your point, though. That's your point. That's a minute higher than last year.
Yeah, so I think as much as it would be nice to be conservative with KP, like we kind of need to bring him back in order to lower the minutes load on Al Horford. And like KP could still play 26 minutes at the center position, and that doesn't leave a lot of minutes for Horford to fill either. Like they could share the load and both play a reduced minutes load. So I think there's something there. And Absolutely. It's maybe part of the urgency to bring in KP back beyond just like the on-court product being like sexy as fuck and amazing. And like Jaylen Brown's like numbers with KP on the court versus KP off the court last year are like night and day. And with like some of his offensive efficiency, we talked about the free throw rate. That's an outlier. Elsewhere, efficiency-wise, offensively, JB has kind of struggled compared to last year a little bit. So to bring KP back, hopefully you would imagine that would elevate some aspects of his game as well. So there's multiple ways that KP returning benefits other players. So it's not just about KP and his health and risking things. It's like he really does bolster the team in multiple ways. So if he's ready, bring him the fuck back.
I think they've been incredibly conservative with bringing him back. That's my read on the entire situation. Like everyone has been watching him do his pregame warm-up for weeks now, and everybody has basically been like, I play basketball, I watch all this basketball. It looks like he's basically playing basketball in the pregame warm-ups. Like he's had a scrimmage. Like I think he's been ready for a while, and they're just like trying to get him to whatever is physically possible.
The benchmarks. What are the benchmarks? I
What
want
are
to
the
know.
benchmarks? Jeez, thank God I don't have these benchmarks, dude. I wouldn't be allowed to do anything because I'm never reaching any benchmarks. I think that they've done everything they possibly can. I promise you, they are not letting him touch an NBA basketball court with real minutes unless he's like beyond ready. There's just no chance in my mind. So if he's ready, he is way readier than like you think he is. Is my read on it. We're never gonna know. They're never gonna tell us. Maybe we'll get all this information once KP comes back, and because he actually is quite liberal with. He's got a little loose lips, KP, which I appreciate about him. So
Yeah.
I miss him, dude. Just vibes wise too. He's just awesome.
Yeah, I never expected that. I never expected
neither.
KP to be the consummate vibesman that he is. It probably helped me personally move on from Marcus Smart a little bit in that sense. Anything else for us, Jake, before we wrap this one up?
There's a question from Hamed in the chat here. Like, how do you guys feel about this team without an enforcer? I feel like this team has a glaring lack of physicality. God forbid someone undercuts Jaylen and Jayson who protects them. This is not something that I personally worry about. I would ask you, like, who has an enforcer in the NBA and how has that helped them win basketball games or win an NBA title? Like, I don't think that's something that really exists anymore. Like, it kind of happened in the first round of the playoffs. Like, Caleb Martin undercut Tatum in the last seconds of that game one, and they just like beat them 4-1. Obviously, there was talent disparity. I'm not sure. It's not something that I get too concerned about.
Yeah, that moment where Caleb Martin undercut Tatum in, was it game one of the playoffs last year, and like no one did anything, and Tatum like jumped up immediately and walked away. That was actually a moment that like instilled a lot of confidence in me that they were going to go on to win the championship, because they didn't get caught up in any of the bullshit that it's like, fine, fuck you, whatever. We're just going to continue to go about like beating your ass, and we don't want to get caught up in your bullshit. So I think in lieu of an enforcer, like you enforce yourself talent-wise by dominating the other team. It's like way better than like starting shit that just dominate. But also I would say that like I think Peyton Pritchard has some like weird enforcer energy about him as well. So I'm also like, if anyone had to like step in and fight anyone in the league and like maybe win scrappily, I kind of like back PP in that sense as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think we don't have a lot of fighters on this team. We got a lot of lovers. And you can win an NBA title having a lot of lovers on the team, like as evidenced by the NBA title that the Boston Celtics won.
Do you want to talk about UAE sovereign wealth funds at all before we wrap up?
Yeah, why not? So Wick, I don't know how much of a grasp you have on the whole thing. The article was paywalled, and I was like, I'm not fucking paying for this Bloomberg article, but. What I have found out is that sovereign wealth funds can only own a maximum of 20% of an NBA franchise. Cam Tabatabai has kind of indicated on Twitter that like they probably wouldn't be interested in being like a minority stake owner. They're kind of investing in some other ways. But it's interesting that what Wick's strategy seems to be. He's like, can I like convince someone to let me kind of still do what I'm currently doing, but pay for me to keep my job a little bit, it feels like.
Yeah, I don't have the details. I have no level of detail on this, but it sounds like, and I think this is like consistent since the announcement was made, Wick is doing everything he can personally to ensure the handover is smooth, that the culture is maintained, and that whoever is sort of onboarded in an ownership capacity has the team's best interests at heart. And with this roster, best interests might just be the capacity to like continue to pay the fucking bills. Hence, like looking for like oil money. So like, you know, ethicalness aside, like I'm kind of all for it, because like I just want to pay to keep the band together, basically.
Look, man, they may as well use the evil money to fund the good guys. And I'm really enjoying referring to the Celtics as the good guys these days, because clearly we've become the team that everybody hates the most, I think, around the NBA over the last couple of years.
Yeah,
and that
it is
just
fun.
is kind of, which is awesome, because that essentially means you're the best team. That's what happened to the Heatles, what happened to the Warriors. Like, everybody's just is sick of the team at the top. So we may as well use the evil money for good. And pay to keep Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. It would be so awesome if, after all the hand wringing about having to blow this roster up, that someone came in and just paid the insane luxury tax bill, and we got to keep the best roster in the NBA by far together for as long as we want. And that would be so awesome. It would be so awesome.
It's like ethicalness, money laundering, taking unethical money and funneling it into like hugely ethical feats as well, which is keeping this amazing team together. So
yeah, who are the bad guys? Yeah.
Who are the bad guys?
Good question.
The Lakers, Sixers. Look
Everyone
at what's going on
us.
with the Sixers. We just talked about the KP. The management of the KP situation, and like not only have they communicated this clearly, but like the setting of the benchmarks, and it's all very like structured and clearly communicated and designed for success. Meanwhile, like what's going on with Embiid, I don't want to get too far into it because I know you guys have spoken about it on recent pods, but it's like I think they're the bad guys, like to their fans and to their players and like to everyone involved.
If you want like 20 to 30 minutes of just pure shitting on the Sixers, go listen to the Patreon episode where me and Spoonie just like went to town.
So good.
And it was awesome. Man, he's out again now.
Yeah, at least one more game.
Well, with knee swelling, not just like management, like straight up. And Brian Suter, his name, like the Twitter doc guy, like he was just essentially saying like, dude, we got to adjust the expectations for this guy. It's just not fair to assume that he's going to come back every time and remain the like MVP level dominator that he was after having like his third meniscus injury. Like eventually, like it just doesn't really work.
And like not really resting in the off season as well, playing in the fucking Olympics instead.
So dumb.
What the fuck?
They're so dumb. So dumb. And he just like can't help himself. Like the comments about why the negativity keeps following me. Just shut up, dude. Just shut up. It's really they actually won today, I will say, and it's so interesting. Like Jared McCain and Tyrese Maxey are like the complete antithesis of like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and Paul George and all this like darkness and sadness and apathy. They're like just bright shining lights of joy, and they play the right way, and like it's very jarring to me. I'm like, whoa, look at how like joyful these dudes are. It's like I'm like almost happy that Sixers fans have that, but I'm not. I'm just more happy for Maxey and McCain as people, that they're having fun. But McCain straight up looks like a fucking all-star already. That's a kind of a disaster. Not disaster. It's very annoying.
All of their organically non-process acquired players are like not bogged down in whatever is cursing like Embiid and what happened to Ben Simmons. Like those guys are experiencing individual and team related success. Anything that came by way of the process, and somehow I'm going to incorporate Paul George into that as well. Like cursed. Like the worst possible thing is always going to happen. They have to move on from anything that came from the process and rid themselves of the like smiting that the basketball gods are bestowing upon them, and move on with anything they just organically acquired. You have to move on. You would have to think, even if Sixers fans don't like outwardly say this or know this consciously, subconsciously they must feel like, please just end it. Like, get rid of Embiid, get rid of anything that came by way of the cursed process, and move on with like organically and ethically building a team the right way.
I don't know who's trading for Embiid.
Like they can't even trade him until the end of the season, I think.
Yeah, it's true. So the one, you can't trade him. No one's trading for Paul George on a max. He's been worse than Tobias Harris. Like, they're literally both averaging 14 points and on way worse efficiency from Paul George. Like, at least they have these two guys. I have seen some theories rolling around, or like Sixers fans, like the Rice Ricky Sanchez podcast has been a great listen lately, obviously. Like, they're saying like maybe we're just getting all of the bad luck out of the way at the beginning this time, as opposed to like usually at the end of the season. But I feel like it's usually just sprinkled in throughout the season one way or another. So I'm
throughout the last decade.
Yeah, I don't I don't know if I see that, but I understand. Like Kevin O'Connor was like, I can't quit the Sixers team. McCain and Maxey are so good. Paul George, like that would honestly be my biggest concern. I mean, Embiid obviously like has to be good, but even on like one leg against the Grizzlies, he dropped 30 points on like crazy efficiency. Paul George looking really bad would be my biggest concern because that's just like a max contract that you've handed out for no reason. But then because he's just then Tobias Harris 2.0 if he is just now washed all of a sudden.
And your last chance to get it right in the Embiid era, probably, and you've like seemingly fucked it up again. But I digress. We digress. Look, we've got to wrap it up there. We've hit the hour mark. This has been fun to be back on the show. I've missed it a lot. I hope to be back on soon at some point. Like we said, we can do some recordings outside of live streams. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you subscribe. We're so close to 10,000 subscribers. We're about to round the final bend of 9K. So if you're a fan of the show, I know my like YouTube habits, I like watch a lot of stuff that I'm not subscribed to because I'm like an conscious, unethical YouTube user. So like, be better than me. Subscribe to the show if you like it. That'll really help us out. The more subscribers we get, the more leverage we have when we reach out to like players, agencies, and stuff like that, trying to get, a better guests on the show. So please help us out by subscribing and hit that like button as well. Make sure you subscribe to the audio pod as well, which if we boost those numbers, it also helps us out with guest outreach. We've got a bunch of shows and live streams coming up this week, so tune in for those. Jake Eisenberg, love your work, man. Until next time, go Celts.